Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. You could have been anywhere, but you chose wisely, and you're going to hang out with us. So I'm really excited. I'm going to see if I can get this going. Here's our plan for today. James and I are going to have a conversation for a few minutes about his book, and then we're going to pass it on to Jonathan to talk about his book, and then lastly, we'll have some time for Q&A. But if we don't get to have time to answer your questions, go ahead and put them on social media, so then we'll make sure that you'll get your questions answered sooner than later. But we don't want to have you feel that you didn't get your question answered, because I know you don't want to hear my voice anymore, because you want to hear from our authors. It's all positive, though.
You have a lovely voice.
Oh, thank you. Good answer. All righty. So, James, my dear friend, who are now thick as thieves. Yeah. James, please share with us what inspired your book. What was the impetus that moved you to write this novel? But more importantly, why is this the right time for you to have written your novel, No Place Like Home?
So, No Place Like Home is my third book. The first two are, I would only take like snippets of my real life and put it into this magical story. And my editor, Liz, from Macmillan, we were talking about my next book, and she goes, well, why don't you tell your story? And I was like, I completely changed the subject. And she's like, and then she keeps asking, why don't we just tell part of yours? And then I was like, I always avoid answering questions about that, and I wonder why. And she's like, well, start it, like write a chapter. So I wrote it, and I turned it in, and instead of writing one chapter, I wrote like 8. And then she's like, okay, this is your next book. So I was like, all right.
Okay, good.
Facing the past is...
Facing the past, yeah. If you could you give us a little book talk of your book?
Yeah. So I'm a Native American from Ojibwe tribe, and I grew up homeless in a car in Southern California. And so my book is about how me and my single mom and my brother would travel all across California dodging Child Protective Services. And everything how we would make money, how I would eat, like to make money, we would, she was a dancer. She was like on the Bob Hope USO tour. She was Lady Chippewa. She was the only Native American one. So when she had us kids, she would do her performance in the street with a boombox. And me and my brother, well, my brother never would do it. But so me and my mom would like dance in the street for money. Or she would write on a big sign like, real Native American art, and then get me a sketch pad, and she's like, draw a bunch of animals. And I couldn't draw, but I draw it, and then she would sell it, and she was like, well, technically it is Native American art. So the whole time that's what we would do as we're trying to get away from Child Protective Services. And my mom had this cool thing to, instead of making me sad or scared or probably even realize what the situation was, she would say my whole childhood that it was a game. And the game is this U.S. cavalry are going after the Indians, and we got to get away. And so that was my whole childhood.
Yeah. I've been thinking about this book, even though it's for middle grades, and I haven't been in middle school for a really long time. And it's a book that there were some moments where I laughed, and then there were some moments that I sobbed. And so, James, I want you to ask us, why is this book a great space for middle grade readers?
Probably because, so as a kid, I never read. I never had a book. The only book I had was a comic book, Ninja Turtles, and Chester Cricket's New Home. That was the only books I knew in existence. So I never had a book. I would love for a kid that's in any kind of situation that I had, because I had nothing to rely on except for my mom, to see maybe a part of them in the book, or even more so, maybe be like, oh, that's not my story, but this is mine, and they write it. Right. So I think as a middle grade, it's funny because a lot of people say like, oh, they were so sad. And I'm like, that hits me funny because I took out every sad part. You know, like to me, this book is a funny adventure, happy story. And everyone that reads it was like, wow. But as a kid, you don't know what you're going through. You know, that's your reality. So my default setting was never having a bed, you know. It was a back seat.
Because I saw myself just getting angry at the system, as you and I spoke about yesterday, of how, you know, in the story, his mom was trying to, you know, apply for jobs. But if you don't have an address, how do you apply for a job, right? If you're trying to have, if you're on food stamps, there are times like, for example, I went to Wawa, and in the Wawa, the one I was at, said, if you're on EBT, you can't have a hot sandwich. And it's a big old sign, and I got so furious at folks who are trying to eat, and you're trying to say because they are financially disadvantaged and they don't have a home, some may not, that you can't even get hot food. So like the system of trying to constantly keep folks down. So in my adult mind, like, my tears came from just being my righteous indignation of, this is awful. Why are they doing this? And you have a mom who deeply cares for her kids, because you know the situation of why they left the home. It was just, you know, I get weepy. And, but the joy of the main character is what really just kept the pages turning. But, so thank you for that. Who else would you give this book to?
So what I do is I send this book a lot to Native American reservations because when I visit mine, books aren't even an option. It's like a lot of the Native American reservations are still really poor, and I know of maybe 3 that have libraries, you know, and in those libraries they only have, you know, a dozen books, you know. So I try to give it to as many Native Americans as I can, and just school visits. I give it to as many kids as I can. It's funny when I go to school visits, I always, on instinct, I always try to pick out who the smelly kid is, because I was the smelly kid. Like I never changed my clothes, like whenever I was in a school, and the hungry kid. So I always try to like talk to the teachers and be like, send these kids the book, and like I'll try to like set a gift bag for them, and a little letter being like, hey, you know, if I could do it, you could do it.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. So now I'm going to pass the clicker to Jonathan Todd. I'm a church kid, I'm a PK, and there were some moments in this book that made me laugh out loud. I told Jonathan and his family about it because at one point, or many points in the story, he'll tell you this too, but I just want to give a little preview. There were moments of singing, you know, the hymns and the doxology after you do the tithes, and I found myself singing as I'm reading the book. So if you're one of those kind of folks, you're going to love his book. So Jonathan will pass this to you.
Thank you, Shanisha. And my talk today won't talk too much about the church part, but even more reason, go get the book. Oh, but it looks like this. Okay. My name is Jonathan Todd, and so my book, Timid, was inspired by when my family moved from South Florida to the Boston area in the 1980s. And it's about my struggle to overcome shyness and find cultural belonging. So I'll read a little from the book and give you a little background on how the book came to be, some of the true stories. So can you guys see the monitor okay? I can see here, but I don't want to assume you guys can. So anyway, this is I'm the brown kid in the bottom row, glasses, kind of looks a lot like this, you know, kind of like this, you know. So this was part of my 6th grade class. There were 2 classes, and the name of my school was Perrine Baptist Academy, and I was the only kid in the 6th grade, but I never felt different from the other kids, partly because I was was kind of a popular kid because I'd draw these comic books. Oops, let me see. Here we go. There. Kids Comic Journal. If you want to look at it later, I'll have them. And so I would draw the comics in pencil, and some of those kids that you just saw, they would trace over in felt tip pen. So that way, the drawings would show up when they were photocopied. My mom in the 1980s, she worked for IBM, and in the cover of Night, we'd go down to her job, and I'd copy like 100 copies, staple them up like this. This is one of the originals. Yeah. And then we'd sell them on the playground. So some of those kids that you saw, they had siblings in younger grades, so they were some part of our sales force too. They'd sell to their grades. So the kids who sold books, they would get 2 free copies. So we had a little business going on, and I was kind of big man on campus. But then middle school happened, and my family moved from the Miami area to the Boston area. And so this book is inspired by kind of that first day at Wellesley Middle School. And so in the book, instead of Wellesley, it's called Weber. And then this is the cartoon version of the school. The school looks, on the outside, pretty much still the same. And by the way, I just want to give a shout out to Dominique Ramsey, who did the colors. I just did the brush and ink, and I wrote it. So Dominique Ramsey. So I'll read a little, and again, I don't remember exactly what the drive was like to school, so some of those parts I made up a little to get to the part that was really impactful. Okay, here we go. Excited for your first day? Vroom. You ready? Have a great day, Cecil. Thanks, Dad. And Cecil is the name I use for myself. And Cecil's story is just a little different from mine. Okay. There are a lot more kids here than there were at Palm Baptist. It's probably because it's a public school. Hi, this is Cecil Hall. We registered a couple of days ago. Welcome to WMS. Bye, honey. Hi, Cecil. I'm Miss Donovan, one of the counselors. Here is your class schedule. I'll introduce you to a classmate that you can sit with at lunch, since the other 7th graders already know each other. Hey, Brian, this is Cecil. His family just moved from Florida. Would you look for him at lunch? Oh, sure, Miss Donovan. Ring. I wonder how this will fit into meeting black kids. You two better get to class. So Cecil's reference to black kids is in reference to also during this time of my life learning this whole concept of Oreo. And so this is, so in the book, Cecil learns about this in the car ride up. And the Cecil's sister is named Leah, okay, and it's based off my sister's named Monica, okay. And he's doing it during car rides. I draw a lot in the car, so it's hard to draw black characters for my comic books, because they're not in color. And another thing, now I can't see the expression on his face. Since you'll be at a new school, make sure you look for the black kids. If you don't make friends with them right away, people will think you're an Oreo. I've never heard Oreo used like that, but I know exactly what she means. Oreo is a cookie that's dark on the outside but white on the don't be no Oreo. Inside, therefore, a person who's an Oreo is black but seems white because he doesn't hang with the other black kids. Don't be no Oreo. So this is part of Cecil's anxiety, is that he's like, doesn't sound like a good thing. So then, meanwhile, so this is what pretty much what happened at my first day of school, which really inspired my book. Okay, so I go into the cafeteria, and it was racially segregated. And again, from my old school, I wasn't used to that. I was just like one of the kids. I didn't feel like I had to just be with other black kids, and in fact, I was the only one. So in the cafeteria, it kind of looked like this. There was black girls there at one table. There were white kids different, all the other places. And then the black boys were at one single table. And then there was someone from another cultural group, and then just me. So I froze when I walked in the cafeteria and I saw this. So I just plopped down anywhere. Okay. And then here's what Cecil's thinking. The black kids are sitting all the way over there. I'd feel weird getting up just to go talk with them. What would I say? So then meanwhile, that person that we read about, that the counselor hooked me up with, I'm at the table with that kid. And so this is what happens, okay? So I see where the other black boys are. My family lives in Weber. Oh. Uh-oh, some of them are walking this way. What do I say? What do I say? Hi, I'm Adam. And this is Michael. And this is Sean. Hi, I'm Cecil. Are you new? Yeah, my family just moved in. Do you live around here? Why didn't I ask them that? We're from Boston. I don't know what else to ask them. What do I say now? Well, see you around. We be chillin'. Did they leave because it took me too long to ask another question? I'm guessing they talked to me because I'm black too. I don't like feeling that kids are looking at me. We be chillin'. Ha ha, we be chillin'. So the person who I was hooked up with ended up making fun of the black kids who came to say hi to me. And so from there, I was very, it put me in a very awkward position. And so I didn't talk about this thing that happened for 25 years. And so making the book kind of helped me express this. And so I figured I made the book because if I went through this, other kids maybe went through a similar thing, or other things that made them feel separate or different. It could be religious reasons, it could be body size, it could be queer identity. So I just wanted them to know that someone went through this hard thing, you know, it was okay. You know, that you'll be okay. So I wanted, it's kind of a book is really like a companion. So in the story, it's about Cecil, you know, learning to eventually make friends with one of the other black kids who he has something in common with. Yeah, thanks for having me. And oh, one other thing. So the book does deal with like some serious stuff like that, but also I wanted to really capture the joy of childhood. And so one thing that I really like to do, well, you should like making foods. And so there's one of my favorite, some of my pages in the book is when Cecil makes a banana split with his mother. So I'll read a little of that too. Okay. It's nice, banana split. Step 1, get plates. Hanging out with Ma. Step 2, cut peeled bananas in 2 with butter knife because. Step 3, top bananas with 3 scoops of vanilla ice cream. I don't feel like. Step 4, add strawberry topping to first scoop. I have to be tough. Step 5, add fudge to second scoop. Or listen to the quote unquote right music. Pineapple sample. Add the pineapple sample topping to the third scoop. And you top with whipped cream. Shh. Cecil, this is delicious. Scarf smack. So these are my Instagram stuff. And so, yeah, I'd love to answer any questions, but that's a little about my book.
Yeah, very good, very good, very good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Oh, thank you. Any questions?
Oh, this one over there.
Oh, come on up to the mic. Mhm.
Hi. Oh, it's really loud. So I haven't read your book, but I did have a question about it in the sense that it seems like you go over big questions or things that kids go through on a day-to-day or moving to a different place. For example, I'm not from the US. I moved here when I was slightly older for college. So I kind of find similarities within that feeling. But but I do wonder, like maybe with like that Oreo comment, like how then do you deal with that in a way where you don't share that stereotype or that fear with the person you're reading it with? Like that reader that you're having.
Yeah.
Did you consider that like that comment and the way that you maybe phrased it or enveloped it in the book would then like transfer into that person?
Oh, so from the reader would feel that they don't want to be that too, or
like I wonder just like how then like your character kind of like delves into it and like avoids it like transferring that anxiety into that new character.
That's a great question, and I'm kind of, let me know if I'm not answering it, I guess, the right way. That is a very like a hurtful thing to say to people, but yet it's a real thing, and so I wanted to share that, anxiety, like that's kind of like the source of, some of Cecil's anxiety, and so through the course of the book, though, he kind of pushes against that as far as like it's not a really legitimate thing. It's like there's many ways to be Black. And so by showing, he wants to be mainly known as an artist. So it'll let him, this is what his main identity would be. He doesn't have to be under the control over kind of name calling. Yeah. Is that helpful? Okay.
Yeah, I think I was just wondering, when you post those sorts of things, and how do you counter back it so that it doesn't actually reflect in a negative way for the reader?
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, it's a good point. So one thing, some other hints I got from my editor, who's also African American, is that whenever there is, because kids go through so many negative things, so the thing is you don't want the negative things not to be addressed in the book.
Right.
So so that's one thing, is not let an insult go without another character saying, hey, but,
Okay.
Yeah, because actually there's a scene in the book where one of the other Black kids calls him an Oreo, but the one of the kids says, that's not fair, you don't even know this kid. So yeah, and so that's how I pushing against that.
Nice.
Okay, thank you so much for your question.
Thank you.
I just wanted to ask more about what your process is when it comes to translating adult topics to a middle grade genre.
Okay. You go first.
That's a great question.
I think we don't give kids enough credit to, we try to filter kids, but they're the ones when I do school visits, they're the ones that ask the best questions. Mm-hmm. They're the ones that challenge you the most. Your book sucks if a kid says it sucks. But adults will try to justify it. I read the whole thing, and chapter 7 to chapter 11 was boring, but kids will be 2 pages in, no, it sucks, So I think kids, I throw as much as I can at kids, because when I was a kid, I dealt with all this adult stuff and all the hardships through a kid's eyes, and my mom was able to make it fun. When we were homeless, we were on an adventure. It was a quest. So I try to give kids as much as possible. I try not to filter it at all for kids, because we try to hide things from kids, but they know before we do, basically.
Yeah. For me, I just, I figure if I remember going through that, another kid feels the same way too. So I just try to be as accurate as possible and kind of relive it. And usually that's kind of good enough as far as that makes it middle grade. It's I stuff that really traumatic, I remember. So, write it down, and then as a graphic novelist, then I put that into pictures. And then I'll look through my editor or in the reading group as something about the comment about negative things that are said. Well, negative things said to kids all the time. So then, what's my editor suggest? So the editor is helpful too, to make sure it's appropriate for a middle grade audience. Thank you for the question.
Yeah, great. Yeah, thank you.
Hi. I'm curious, when there's a topic that's so close to home, was it hard to release that out into the world and hand it over to editors or publishers or other readers? When it's something that's so personal, was it hard to hand it over?
For me, it was so cool, because as I started writing, I had no idea how many memories I blocked, and how many, I didn't know that I was blocking it. And then I'm oh my God, I'm remembering. So it was reliving it for the first time, going, how did I survive this? Or how did I go through this? And then, but I had a kid's eye, So I had fun. I was smiling. my mom was crying. You know, my mom was in the front seat crying, and I was like, why are you crying? Why are you crying? She'd go, oh, I'm just practicing. I have a, you know, we're in Hollywood. I have a big audition. I have to make myself cry. And I was like, oh, okay. You know, can I try it? You know, she's like, yeah, start crying. So then she would cry, and I would cry with her, and then I was having so much fun. It kind of made her not cry anymore. So, like, it's kind of like that.
So it was really tough for me as a middle schooler. And so I'm like, man, I wish I had a book where I saw a kid going through something like that, just to know that I'm not alone and alienated. So it's just the desire to have kids not feel alone is like, it's no problem. Like I'm an adult, like I process it. I worked through that, probably in high school I started working through, found cultural belonging and finding a balance, like being myself, being part of a cultural community. So it's like, it was tough, so I want kids to know that they'll be okay. So that, to me, was the easy part. It's a way that I can serve kids.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you. But thank you all for coming.